Hello, and welcome to Broads and Books. I'm Erin.
And I'm Amy, and this is episode 109. Should I stay or should I go?
It's a solid question. I mean,
it's a solid question. It's also the title of a song
it's such a good song.
that you chose
I
by
did
The Clash.
Yeah.
Why
It's
did
a
you
great
choose this
theme
song?
because, I mean, it's like a central struggle everyone has.
Yeah.
And not just like, should I physically leave a place or should I physically stay? But just,
Every single decision.
yes, it can be a struggle. And it feels big and weighty.
It does. You're right.
Yeah. But then also the Clash made something so big and weighty feel kind of fun. Should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
Don't know.
I think this was reintroduced to the youths a few years ago, and it was used in the Stranger Things very prominently. Do you remember that? 'Cause
Yes.
your kids watch Stranger Things, right?
Yep. Yeah, Evan loves it. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
We're giving the youths some classic punk. They need
Yes,
that.
They
Yeah.
do. They need that in their lives. And it's just a good song to remind you, no one has the answers.
That's a perfect way of putting it. No one does have the answers. We
No one
never
has the
figure it out.
answers.
Even when we're adults, we're all just faking it.
Yeah.
We don't know what the hell we're doing.
No. Should you stay or should you go? I don't know.
Don't know. Sometimes
know.
don't care.
Very often don't care. Very often don't
Sometimes
care.
just make the decision for me.
Yeah.
Clash
Yeah.
or whoever.
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you'll probably pick the wrong way anyway. So just accept it.
Well, it's a great song that you picked.
It
A
is
great
a good
theme.
song. Yeah.
Very rich. Very lots of things fit into this, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many.
So on that theme,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question, Erin.
Okay. Hit me with it.
So thinking about the physical act of leaving.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let's say you're at a party.
Uh-huh.
You're at a gathering.
Uh-huh.
Some people have creative ways of leaving said gatherings, said parties. Have you ever witnessed a particularly creative way of someone leaving?
Yeah, I have. It sticks in my head. It was a long time ago. And I sometimes think about it and laugh to myself because I still to this day don't know if it was true or not.
Okay.
But I was at like a holiday open house. So it's like a thing no one really wants to be at.
Yeah.
Right?
Gross.
At a holiday open house. And it was like a brunchy time.
Nope.
Yep. And so I remember walking into this house and there was a lot of Christmas decor. Okay, fine. And there's like that, there was a scent in the air. So I moved forward in this open house situation. I'm kind of in the kitchen area where the food is. And there was a hallway that led to the kitchen area that you had to come in if you came in the door. And I heard this couple come in, but I didn't know them, so I didn't really acknowledge it. And they're talking to the host. All these things are happening. They get into the kitchen, and then in the loudest voice I've ever heard anyone yell outside of an emergency, he said, "Oh my God, is that a cinnamon apple candle?" And we were all like, "What?" And the host said, yeah, it is. And he's like, "I'm deathly allergic to cinnamon. We're leaving now."
What?
And they left that fast. It's clearly either happened before or he's convinced his wife because she was like, "Oh my goodness." Like she was acted petrified. Like this was a near death experience in the 45 seconds they were in the kitchen.
Now, hang on a second. Okay, so I don't have a lot of allergies,
I
but
don't-
I didn't realize that smelling the suspect
Right.
substance
Again.
was bad.
Right. But it was kind of the most perfect creative way.
It really was.
Because who's going to be the assholes that
Who's going to be like, are you really?
"You're not allergic to
Yeah.
a cinnamon candle." And then watch him break out in hives and everyone be like, "Oh, you're a jerk."
That's going to be his death on your hands. You don't want to do that.
And I think if you do that you have to play it that big.
Yeah, you do.
He swung for the fences, and I think you have to in that situation. Because if you undersold
connected,
that, it would
yeah.
kind of be like, that's weird. But he sold it so hard that it took everyone a good 20 minutes to digest it. And I think individually in our heads, we were all like, was that true? But so much time had passed, you didn't want to be like, "Hey, can we
rewind?
put a pin in this conversation and
to what
backtrack?"
just happened?
That guy left because he said he smelled a candle, right?
I really like the idea of maybe he does this at parties. Like they've been invited to parties, so they make the appearance of going, and then whatever scent it is, oh my God,
The best part of the
sandalwood! I'm gonna die! Ah, my throat!
The best part of that, though, is that the host was so flustered that she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like she didn't know what, you're kind of like in this, I'm sorry, because it feels like you did something wrong, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And then after they left, she just like quietly went over to the candle, just blew it out like the rest of us might suddenly develop an allergy. Just like, okay, we're just
Like she wanted to remove evidence of the.
oh, sorry, everyone.
Meanwhile, that poor Candle's like, what did I do?
This isn't possible.
I was ambiance. What is wrong with this?
Yeah. And
Like that dude was lying. He's not allergic to me.
No. I mean, I played that scenario out a couple times.
That is wonderful.
And
How old were you?
I was in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you would have responded differently now?
I would have loved it. I would have been like, probably would have called him on it just for fun.
It would have been great. Be like, really?
Yeah. Or I
never
might have
heard
been
of
like
such a
gone over
thing.
and looked at it and been like, well, it says it's just apple.
It is interesting though, because there is such a concept as the Midwest goodbye.
Yeah.
Which is when you're in a gathering, a party, it is impossible to announce that you are leaving and then get out the door within a few minutes. It takes a long, long time.
That's true. There's a
because
proper
it's a
goodbye
protracted
situation.
series
Yeah.
of saying goodbye to people, having another little bit of a conversation. It's so awful. And so he was just trying to avoid the whole thing, I bet.
Which I can appreciate on
Yeah.
some level. But it was
But
the
it is
most
a
creative
very, like you said, swing for the fences kind of
really
moment.
stuck in my head.
Yeah,
I would
it's
have
a good
no
one.
other reason to remember this guy. I wouldn't be able to pick him out on the street prior to his cinnamon apple candle situation.
Yeah. Well, I hope he's out there and that he survived all the influx of cinnamon candles in
Me
the world.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. Have you specifically ever left or entered a social gathering in a non-traditional way?
Oh, not entered, exit for sure.
Sure.
I will say that for some time I was sort of a connoisseur of an Irish goodbye in which you just peace out and never say a word to anybody and sneak out like the shadow that you are into the night. There were so many times when I was in my 20s and I was drinking very hard, and it'd be like 3 a.m. I'd suddenly realize like, oh, I gotta go, I gotta leave, and just disappear into the night, walk home. Not a good idea.
No.
But there would be as I would be walking home, there'd be a series of texts like, what happened? Where did you go? And I was gone.
You were just
gone out into the world.
Did you respond to the text?
No.
No, it was just out.
I had died in their mind.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay.
But there was one situation in which it was a particularly interesting goodbye. And that was a friend of ours, Eric's 40th birthday, which his sister surprised him with a party bus. There were about 15 of us on this party bus, all in our 40s now.
Uh-huh.
And over the course of about 5 hours, we all proceeded to lose our goddamn minds. We were hitting bar to bar, and because of our advanced age, perhaps, the alcohol was hitting us real hard.
Oh, no.
Real hard, to the point by the end of the night, there were maybe about half of the group had cried at some point for no real reason.
Oh, no.
There were also people that a half hour in, Stephanie, the sister, was just like, this is the best night of my life. And it was 7:30 in the evening. So it was a very long evening. And at the very end of the evening, we ended up at the Garden, which is a club, whatever. And I was dancing. And then suddenly I was like, I'm going to go. And I just decided to leave. So I snuck out of the club and I started walking. And this is downtown Des Moines. And I was pulling up the Uber app on my phone, but for some reason it wasn't working. And I was in such a state that I could not figure out, like, why isn't it working? And what am I going to do? So within about 5 minutes, I decided I'm just going to walk home. And that's a good, maybe 40 minutes to an hour walk at this point. But by this point, I was starting to get texts from people like, where did you go? Where are you? And at that point, I was, a little emotional because I couldn't get the Uber app to work. So I was texting back like, I just left and I can't get a ride and I'm just going to walk. And so people started calling me, and then suddenly like an Uber showed up because someone had called me an Uber, and they were just like, Amy, just tell me what corner you're on right now and stay put, and the car is coming to you. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I made it home and it was all fine. That was the last time I think I attempted a Irish goodbye because it backfired.
Yeah, that
both
went bad.
upon me.
Yeah.
Somehow Uber decided you're not Irish goodbying tonight.
Not tonight.
And the rest of the group
Not
was
tonight.
like, what? Why? This
Why?
isn't a thing. What are you doing?
Well, and was the idea that you had to get back on the party bus to go back to where you all met at the end of the night too? Like usually the party bus has to return you
Yeah,
to...
that's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just went to bus, and I was thinking of someone taking attendance and being like, we lost a person. Like, we're down.
No,
Amy.
I think at some point the party bus driver was like, this group is lit. And not in the great way. Like, they're crying. A few people might be puking. Not quite sure. At one point, we were at the Saddle, and there were 3 straight guys in the bathroom just crying and talking to each other.
Oh, no.
It was a very weird
That's
night. We've milked that story for the last 5-6 years because it was pretty epic.
Yeah, that's
including my disappearance.
I think you
just
should. Yeah.
Disappeared into the night.
I once had a party bus experience where we started the night with the lady who had rented the party bus or put together this party. It was a Halloween party, so we were all in costume too, which is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Announced like, seriously, you cannot throw up on the party bus. It's this whole extra fee. You can't. Like a very intense lecture.
She puked, didn't she? Yeah.
In someone's hat.
What?
I think it was her husband, because I think he was dressed as like Woody from Toy Story, maybe.
Oh.
And she puked in his hat because she was trying to not let anyone see that she's puking. We're all like, we know. We all knew at the beginning of the night you were going to be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made too much of
a ruckus.
Too hard. You went too hard. You went too hard in the other direction. I like that. That's an interesting way to exit, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thinking about going places, traveling perhaps.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best part about going places, about traveling, and what is the worst part?
It's the same. The best and worst part's the same for me.
Which
and it's
is?
New experiences. Like, I love going places and having new experiences. The worst part of new experiences for me in another place is that I am the worst packer, and it causes a level of anxiety because I'm always trying to, like, I'm always acting like I'm going to a desert where there's nothing. And like, well, if I get a big gash in my leg, I need the big Band-Aids and the little Band-Aids.
Yeah, because there's no pharmacies across the land.
Miles, for states.
Yep.
Like, or I think, okay, I need this. I mean, I will pack products I don't normally use in my everyday life just because I'm sure, or 3 outfits per day, because what if the weather varies?
Yep.
And I can't I'm going to take these shoes, but then if these shoes give me a blister, I might want to switch to these shoes. I add scenarios that make no sense. It's like a choose your own adventure book of packing. Like, I'm like, if you want to pack the calamine lotion, you also have to take the cotton swabs. Turn to page 27. If you pack the calamine lotion, that means you're outside. So you better pack your stuff. Like, it's just never ending.
I think that's also like a little bit of societal pressure on women to always be prepared and to take care of everyone around them.
Yeah.
So you have to pack all the stuff. And then everyone gives a shit for having too big a bag.
Too much stuff.
Well, fuck you. Like, I'm bringing the Band-Aids because you're not going to want to go out and get the Band-Aids. No.
And every time, though, at the end of the trip, I'm always like, I didn't need half the things I packed. Why did I do that to myself?
Yeah.
But what do? I could turn around and pack the very next day and I won't have learned that lesson. I won't. I'm not capable of it for some reason.
There was a while where I was not good at packing to the point of, like, I would forget underwear and like essential items. And now I've gone full on the other way where it's everything in my entire drawer, all of my dress, all of my clothing. Just put it all in there because we might need it.
Because you might need it.
And empty my entire bathroom into the bag. Yeah.
The last time that Mike and I went on a trip, I packed a collapsible cup that you can, like, pull up, and then it has a straw, so you can. When I took it out when we were there, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, in case I want water."
There's no cups anywhere to be had, Erin.
Yeah, and he's like, "You're not no water bottles. Not just gonna buy water, like, drink it like a normal person. You're gonna take your collapsible cup.
Listen, you were
fill
starting
it
a
up,
trend, okay?
And then take it up to your room."
Yes,
which it also kind of turned out to be a bad thing because we heard on the way there not to ever just drink out of the fountain at this place. Like, you should just be buying bottled water. So then it turned out to be a really useless item.
Oh, no.
Also, not a great design of a collapsible cup because when you squeeze it too hard, it kind of collapses on itself.
It does what it says it will do. It collapses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay.
Yep.
Well, it was a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, so thinking about travel and thinking about if you had to live somewhere else, is there a place that you would never move to under any circumstances?
Listen, I'm going to shit on a couple states, okay?
Good.
And they are Florida and Texas. There is
I would never. Oh, my God.
And this is with full awareness that we live in Iowa, and I'm sure many, many people, especially with our governor right now, would never in their entire life want to move to Iowa.
No.
Fully understand that.
100%.
I feel that way about Florida and Texas.
Yep.
Mostly because of the weather. It is swamp ass all the time.
All the time.
But also because real shitty politics these days. Just
Terrible.
terrible politics.
Terrible.
Again, our government sucks in Iowa, but those two states, never.
No, I agree with you. Florida, the humidity alone is a problem. Yeah. That's a problem. But then also, if we're going just on a superficial level, why are your bugs so big? I can't do it.
Why are your bugs so big?
I can't do it.
And in Texas, why does nothing live down there? Like, it's all just arid land and skyscrapers.
Yeah, we got a couple theories.
Well, yeah.
And I think they're tracking.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they deserve the hell that has brought that they're living in.
That they love.
Yeah.
God bless Texas with his own hands.
Oh, God. Well, God doesn't like Texas then in that case.
I know. It's a real, like...
Bless Texas with his own hands. Gross.
Yeah.
That's real gross. Yeah, so those two states never.
As opposed to
never.
How else does he bless things?
With...
I know. Don't finish that thought out loud. But just think that through.
Huh.
What else does he bless with his hand? I mean, that's very specific.
It is very specific.
Like a blessing to me isn't something that you have to
use your two hands.
Right.
What happened if you just used one hand? Is that why Texas
like
is the way it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's
Maybe he just used a hand, or maybe he used like an elbow or something, and that's why Florida and Texas suck.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Also, a lot of old people in Florida. And listen, I know we're not youths. I know that.
No, it's different.
But
though.
it's very different.
It's different. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's a particular kind of old person.
You know what Florida feels like to me? It's like one big cult, because when you go there, everyone's like, isn't it beautiful?
Oh.
And you're like, it's a strip mall.
Yeah.
What, and with a palm tree. What do you mean, is it beautiful? Like, everyone that's from there just wants to make sure that you know that it's the best place you have ever been, and you better not say any different.
It's not.
I'm like, but it's not.
It's not.
Listen, I know that the last week in Iowa, we had a tornado and a snowstorm, and that doesn't seem great. Back to back within 24, 48 hours of each other. I understand that that's not great.
Yeah.
I do. I get that on a very specific level. But we
don't have hurricanes.
Yeah, we don't have hurricanes. We don't have Scientology centers.
Oh, we sure don't.
And we don't have strip malls with the best restaurant in the city.
Nope.
And a palm tree. And a t-shirt shop, because there's always one of those. 5 for $30. Take them home.
Oh, no.
You went to Florida, and all I got was this t-shirt. So funny.
As I said, I know I'm coming down hard on you, Florida and Texas. And I know we're not ones to talk right now. But I still stand by it.
Listen, Florida. Go out there. You take a look at that bug.
Yeah,
and then you get back to me.
Yeah, you get back.
You get back to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why must there be alligators and crocodiles?
Why do you have to screen in your pools?
Yeah.
Because of the bugs.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so we have terrible mosquitoes here. Can you imagine, like, on the regular, how many times people have to pick, like, mosquitoes and shit out of their hair and their teeth just walking around? I'm just imagining, like, a constant mosquito cloud that you're just walking through.
I mean, I don't like Florida, but I don't think that they just get mosquitoes stuck in their teeth or their hair. I more meant that they grow really big cockroaches. But also, yeah, that mosquito hair teeth thing doesn't sound great.
I may be confusing people with cars. I don't know.
Maybe. Oh, man, that was a great visual, though. And you went into it hard. I know, listeners, you couldn't see, but she was picking out mosquitoes out of her hair. She's like, they're in my teeth. And then it made me think, did you have a very specific experience?
No, not that I recall, but
okay,
that's just where my head went. So,
yeah.
So never. Don't try to convince me otherwise, Florida, with your
Do you want to know? It just made me think of one of the last time that Mike and I were in Florida. We looked up in the city that we were in, like, what's the best bookshop that they have? I think it's fun sometimes to go to independent bookstores.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't know
Oh no,
better.
this is gonna turn bad. I already know. It's gonna be real
The very
bad.
best highly rated bookstore in this area. It was at the end of a strip mall.
Oh, no.
And we walked in and the lady said, "Hello, what house do you belong to?"
What?
And I was like,
What house?
"That's what I said." And other people, you might be getting this already. She wanted to know what Hogwarts house I belonged to.
What?
And I was like, "Is this a specific Harry Potter store?" And I will tell you that it was mainly Harry Potter stuff in the store.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, we made a mistake.
That's a big mistake. I mean, nothing against Harry Potter except the creator is a big old bigot. But beyond that, like, why is the bookstore? Huh? Okay.
Mike said Windsor when she said what house do you belong to. I don't think anyone there got it. I don't even know if he got it. He just kept walking.
Oh boy. Nice one, Mike.
That brought back a lot of memories out of nowhere. Woo!
Oh, I'm so glad we're agreed that Florida and Texas are no-goes.
I was gonna. If I had answered that question, it would have been the two on my list.
Yeah. I know they're obvious, but for a reason.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes in the teeth, Aaron.
Does not sound enjoyable.
No.
Have you ever had that experience?
No.
Have you gotten a mosquito
No,
in your
I
tooth?
don't know
Okay.
if that was like a really deep-seated fear that just came
Yeah,
out right
that
now.
could
I don't
be.
know.
Okay.
Because it was in the moment. It was like,
Did you
this
used
is
to
the
ride
worst
a bike
thing.
a lot? I could see that happening in a bike situation.
You know me in coordination.
That's what I was.
Yeah,
okay.
no. I did ride bikes often, and every time I fell. And
Oh.
it was not. It was, and I'm
Okay.
as an adult too. So yeah.
okay.
Okay. Yep. In Chicago,
Oh.
on city streets.
Oh no.
Not great. Not great. But I persisted, Aaron.
You know what?
For a while.
You should. Now I just had an image of you falling on a bike, standing up and yelling, "Is that a cinnamon apple candle?" And just taking off. Just running. Just get away from the scene.
We should try that though sometime.
Yeah.
When we need to leave a place or we're going someplace we don't want to go. And yeah.
Yep.
That's a good one. Oh, after that, I mean,
know.
we got books to talk about.
Now we got
but
books. But man,
No mosquitoes to be seen in my first pick,
hopefully not.
or swamp ass that I know of,
Well, that's good too.
or cinnamon apple candles either.
None.
No.
Nope.
Or Harry Potter, really.
No.
No. Because it's set in an apocalyptic world. So,
Oh, okay. We got
so
there.
everything's gone.
Right. Yeah.
Everything's
Everything
gone.
is
Yeah.
out. Yep. Mhm.
So for my fiction pick, I'm choosing a book called The Fifth Season, which came out in 2015.
Okay.
And it's the first book in a trilogy, and the trilogy is called the Broken Earth Trilogy. And it's by the author N.K. Jemisin. And I know I am late to the party because this made a big splash when it came out. But now that I have read it, I'm sort of I'm the why can't I think of the word?
Ambassador?
Thank you. Yes, I was going evangelist, but then
Oh.
in my head I was like, wait, is that the right word? So I'm going to go ambassador. That
Okay.
seems better. Yeah, agnostic. I loved it so much. It's so original. It's so rich. It's so well written.
Yeah.
And so it's set in a world that is being torn apart regularly by earthquakes. Something has happened to the world to make them very frequent and sometimes so bad that they will cause what's called a season, which is what they call it when the volcanoes erupt and they cover the sky and block out the sun for maybe a period of a few years to longer than that. And this is just something that happens. And towns are built around the possibilities of these seasons and preparing for them. They have big stockpiles of food and everything, and all these rules around what happens in normal times and what happens in seasons. And in this world are people who have an ability to control the earth. They can still earthquakes, or they can cause them. And because these folks are extremely valuable, they are hated and they are feared around the world, because what happens if one of them goes rogue? That's what everyone thinks, like, oh, they're so terrible, they're gonna, kill us all, kind of thing. And that's exactly what happens at the start, actually, is someone with this power causes a massive earth-breaking rift and starts a season, which may be the final season.
Oh boy.
And that's when we meet our main characters. Essen is a woman in a small town who's hiding. She has this ability to move the earth, but she's hiding it because people hate everyone so much. And she comes home to find that her husband has discovered that their kids have this power too, and he has murdered their son and kidnapped their daughter. At the same time, we meet Cyanite, who is one of those people that have this special ability, and she is being forced by the government to do their bidding. And then there's Demaya, who is a young girl who's just discovered her powers. And that's just the start. There is so much here. It's, like I said, a very richly imagined world, while the story is this really cool allegory for how we fear what we don't understand. And I love, too, that the main characters and most of all the rest of the characters are black men and women, too. You don't see that very often in fantasy books. I chose it for this theme because I think Essen, the woman that comes home and finds out her son is dead and her daughter is kidnapped, her decision to follow her husband and try to find her daughter is the one that kicks off the book and this entire series. But she faces so many more decisions as she's starting to roam this world that is starting to fall apart. Including like which people she's going to make allies, which people she's going to make enemies with. And everyone else in the book, too, they're facing massive decisions based on their abilities and how the world will try to control them. So it is, like I said, that's just the very start of the book, and it goes so many really cool directions. And there's sort of a twist at the end of the first book that really, really clever. It's just wonderful.
Wow. I love books like that there's like this whole kind of world building element. I'm so fascinated by how someone's mind works to create that and keep that going and add elements to it.
And as you and I, we're obviously avid readers and we both write too. And just thinking it from a writing perspective, it's like, how did they do this? And how did they do they have just a whole room organized with all of the world rules and everything? Like, it's very fascinating to think about.
It is. Yeah. From a creation standpoint, so interesting. Well, I don't care if you're late to the party. It's good to know about.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I went very front list this week.
Well.
I know. I'm cutting edge. If there was anything that's ever said about
Cutting
me, it's that I am
edge.
hip AF.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hip and happening.
Yeah. And if by hip we mean my hip's going out.
Yeah. That's the one.
So this book is called The Verifiers by Jane Peck. It was just published February 22nd, 2022. And Claudia Lynn is the main character. She's just landed a new job with a top secret firm called Veracity. And she hasn't told anyone in her family because her brother is very high achieving and got her a job at this great financial company that she hated. And she takes this job. She doesn't entirely know what the firm does until they decide to hire her. And basically what they do is clients come to them and say, I've met this person on an online dating thing. I need you to verify that they are who they say they are.
Oh, wow.
And they pay a lot for it. But no one can know that that's what they do. They don't advertise. The only way they get clients is through referrals. And they won't intervene in anything. They basically just give you information.
Okay.
So she's only two other people work there. She's the third hire. And she gets hired because the person that started the firm creates a game online to test people. And then he sees who wins the game and thinks, oh, that might be a good kind of detective.
Oh my gosh.
And she's intrigued because she grew up reading murder mysteries.
Yeah.
And that was a common ground with her immigrant mother who expects her to be very high achieving. So she is not fulfilling that. So she hasn't told anyone about this job. But they have this common bond of these books. So just when she feels like she's starting to get a handle on it, they gave her her own case to investigate. A client that they all had kind of mixed feelings about goes missing and then winds up dead.
Oh.
And so this kicks off a whole new mystery and thing to investigate. And it goes so many places that I don't want to ruin anything for you. But this book, the premise is so clever to me. The
I love
idea that as we move forward in this technological age, there's going to be new things that we haven't thought of that we almost need to traverse it. And because of that, the book also has some very interesting points to make about relationships and dating in the modern age and algorithms and getting matched with people. But I also love it because there's also this element of sort of taking a crime novel and breaking it down. Like the things that keep happening in the book, she's like, oh, wait, that happened in one of my murder mysteries, but it was like this. But it's done in such a clever, interesting, flip it on its head kind of way. I would love to be inside this author's mind because it's fascinating. Same kind of idea how she put this story together at the same time of kind of breaking down a genre almost. But And it's funny. The main character's funny, so it's a really fun, great read, great story. But I picked for this theme because basically the whole premise is, should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
Should I stay with this person? Is this person who they said? She's also struggling with this job idea. She's struggling with dating. There's so many things that are big decisions and big life decisions. And it makes sense to me that a company like this would exist because, like we said at the beginning, we all just want answers.
Yeah.
We want some definitive answer about what to do.
Yes.
So such a great, interesting idea. And
Yeah.
I love the way it was executed. It was really fun.
I have 2 points to make, or one is a question.
Yes.
How much do they charge for these services? Do they ever say? Because
It's a lot by
Okay.
by all indications given.
okay,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Bummer. Well, maybe we can do a cheaper version
I
of
think
it.
so.
That's where my second point was going. Is that we can fold this into our relationship services because we know red flags are out there.
And I love to PI some stuff. I do. I love it. And what I love about this is that it's a PI, but they're also like, they just present the information. They don't intervene. They don't say anything. They just say, this is the report. This is what happened. I also love it because their whole business model is underground. So you don't have to be out front making commercials
Yeah.
or doing anything.
Yeah.
Because people only come to you because, they get referred or, they realize that they have a need. So there's kind of a cool element to it that way too, that I think appeals to both of us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm very intrigued.
And it would be great because it would go hand in hand with our breakup service.
Exactly. Yeah. Once we find the information, then we offer listen, we're not telling you what to do, but if you want to go this route, we got you covered.
We got you covered. If you want to go the other route, we also have a strip mall that has animals and clothes. So if you'd like to buy a pet together, you can go that direction.
We've got you covered either way.
Wherever you go,
Yeah.
your money's coming back to us. So
Is it primarily women that use the service?
so far, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what.
I kind of feel like there could be a series here, but I don't know.
Yeah. I could see it being cinematic as well.
The whole time I was reading this, I was like, this would make a great movie. I bet it's going to be optioned into a movie, hands down. Yeah.
I kept thinking that about my book too, but it would be a very heavy lift in terms of lots of CGI and stuff like that. But it could be so freaking cool.
Yeah. Especially all the things that we've seen in the last few years where it doesn't necessarily have to be a big theatrical movie release where you can do miniseries. So you have more time to take on a bigger, a trilogy or something like that because you can do more episodes or seasons or people are more willing to watch TV that way.
Well, good pick, Erin.
It's a good one.
Excellent. Well, for my other genre pick, I've got another sort of fantastical graphic novel for you. And it is called Cosmonites. Came out in 2019. It's from Hannah Templer. And it's the first in a series. And I saw the next one is coming out either this year or next year. And here's what it says on the back cover, which I really love. For this ragtag band of space gays, liberation means beating the patriarchy at its own game.
Wow.
You got space gays and you got patriarchy.
You got the word ragtag.
Ragtag.
Or phrase, whatever you want to say, but ragtag is
Ragtag.
vastly underused.
It really is underused.
Ragtag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pan is our main character, and she works in her dad's body shop on a distant planet. And in this world, this universe, every planet has royalty. There's this system of kings and queens, and when they have daughters, the princesses are sort of raffled off for this series of massive space tournaments. Like these gladiators come to the space tournaments for fame and everything, but they win the princess at the end. Yeah, exactly. It's a real weird thing. So on Pan's world, her best friend is Tara, and she's a princess. And one day she escapes before she can be, auctioned off or whatever in this thing. And years later, Pan is still living in her planet, working at her dad's body shop. And a pair of gladiators from the most recent tournament show up at the body shop, and they're injured, and they need some help. And Pan learns that these two fighters, who are partnered women, by the way, enter the tournament so they can win the princesses, but then free the princesses.
Oh.
So Pan joins them on their latest quest and becomes embroiled in weird galaxy politics and targeted by a very shifty Bowie-esque type character who eventually tells them all about a much more organized resistance that is helping the princesses, and they have to decide if they want to join. So I chose it for this theme for a couple of reasons. For so long, the main character, Pan, has not had a lot of choices. After she helped her friend escape, her world fell into economic ruin because the king and queen, they were sort of opted out of the system and blacklisted. So they have no money to have any choices. And then when she finds the gladiator, she has to choose if she'll leave everything she knows and, more than that, try to tear it all down. So I love that this sort of examines the idea of choice and how much choice we really have in a bigger system.
Yeah.
And sometimes the only choices we have are the wrong ones, or the ones that will just burn it all down. I think it's a great concept. It's very cool art. It's a terrific start to a series. Great cliffhanger. I'm all for it.
Sounds
Cosmo
great.
Knights.
Sounds
Knights
amazing.
with a K.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. See? Cosmo Knights.
Yeah, it
There
makes
is.
sense now that you
It
said
makes
it.
sense
Yeah,
with the gladiators and the knights and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things.
Now,
and the,
yeah,
mhm.
I was thinking it would. They'd
Ragtag band of space gays aired.
That sentence alone, or beginning of sentence, is phenomenal. Let's be honest.
Let's use ragtag in everything.
As much as we can.
As much as we can. I mean, you and I are a ragtag band of book lovers?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Is that what
Ragtag podcast hosts. You got a ragtag bunch of podcasts.
Holy shit, I do.
Yeah.
That are decimating my couch downstairs.
Yeah, that is happening.
Yeah, I was telling Aaron this morning, I came down to find that one of my couches they have co-opted as their own and turned into a series of hidey holes by digging into underneath. They've turned it into their own fort. And every once in a while I come down and there's a little bit of couch stuffing just laying on the floor. And I'm like, well, and this morning I came down and it was a massive, like, cushion size type couch stuffing. So it's not a usable couch anymore, I don't think, except for them.
Yeah. But
For the ragtag band of podcasts.
And it should be for them.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It should be for them.
And that's saying Thelma has nothing to do with this because she's the golden child.
She's too fancy for that.
She's too fancy.
She's a lady.
She's a lady.
Yeah.
Or Louise and Ziggy.
On it.
Ragtag.
Very, very ragtag. Well, my nonfiction book is, I mean, I don't know. You should be able to see this coming.
And I can see it on your face because you start getting giddy when you talk about this person.
I do. I don't know. So it's called Scoundrel: How a Convicted Murderer Persuaded the Women Who Loved Him, the Conservative Establishment, and the Courts to Set Him Free.
Oh, my God.
By none other than Sarah Weinman.
I like how you got real close to the
I
microphone.
did. I want to be very
None
clear
other.
about my.
She's not ragtag. She is top notch.
Legit. Yeah. I just want people to really hear the love in my voice.
It is, the love on your face is something to behold. I
So
wish our
great.
listeners could see it right now. Yeah.
So this came out on February 22nd, 2022.
Yes.
And
Which is not long ago.
No, it's not. But
Today is March 12th.
right.
Yeah.
I ordered the book, however,
Yes.
thinking I pre-ordered it because I mean, come on, it's a Sarah Weinman book. I
Yeah.
pre-ordered. I would pre-order like books she hasn't even written yet.
For sure.
I mean, if that's what she needed me to do, I would
Maybe
do it.
she needs to have an option where just sign on for all
Just sign
future
on.
books.
Yeah. So I pre-ordered it from an independent place because try to get away from Amazon. My only complaint would be that it doesn't arrive on that date. I had to wait 3 excruciating days.
And for a Sarah Wyman Uber fan such as yourself, those are excruciating days.
It was rough. It was rough. So I finally got it and I devoured it in like 2 days because I was obsessed. Amy was involved in the countdown of me finding when the postman was coming.
Yes. Yeah, the love is intense.
It is.
And your need to have that in your hot little hands.
It was intense.
It was
a lot.
thwarted and it was intense.
It was.
Yeah.
I normally work with my curtains closed in my office because I don't want the sun directly on my computer. And that day I was like, I need to see that mail truck go by. I need to see it and I need to run. And that's basically what happened. But you can tell from the title.
The title's badass.
And I have never
Scoundrel.
heard. I know, what a great word.
Wonderful word.
And I have never heard of this person, and I have no idea why, because it's a kind of a phenomenal story. So it tells the story of Edgar Smith, who was convicted and sentenced to the death penalty for the murder of a young girl in the 1960s. So he gets convicted. He ends up on death row. Well, obviously, 1960s, we're at a pinnacle point of reviewing the death penalty, civil rights, all of these things are happening. So he ends up on death row for quite a lot of time because we're going through the appeals process, all these things. Now, it turns out Edgar Smith is very well spoken and he can write very well. And he ends up getting interested in a publication called the National Review, which, if you're not familiar with, William F. Buckley founded this conservative paper. He was getting copies smuggled in from guards, and then I think William F. Buckley at one point tried to get him a subscription in there. But anyway, he ends up corresponding with William F. Buckley himself. And Buckley becomes convinced that he's innocent just based on what Edgar says is the evidence, based on how well he speaks, how, there's a lot of things to tear apart in this story. So William also connects him with an editor, Sophie Wilkins, who ends up helping him kind of edit this book that he publishes.
Oh, no.
That is explaining why he shouldn't be put to death because he didn't do it. It is, when I tell you that this story is bananas, I truly think if you wrote this story as fiction, an editor's comment would be, this is absurd. Like, this isn't going to happen. Try again, do more research, whatever. But it is, you're not going to believe that any of this happened. But he ends up basically being released, and then some horrible things happen after he's released.
Oh, no.
So, and everyone's kind of proven wrong.
Imagine that.
Yeah, weird, right? But when I tell you that this book, the amount of attention to detail and research. I mean, she read through William F. Buckley's personal letters. She had read through Sophie Wilkins' papers. The amount of research and notes and extensive time that was spent in this book shows, because it reads like a beautiful crime novel, but it's nonfiction. And I don't know if you're not used to that genre, if you can fully understand how hard that is to find that ability to do that, to keep things, you're not, you don't want to add details or change anything. You don't want to fictionalize it, but you also are trying to make it entertaining. And so well done in this. You kind of get a perspective from lots of different people, from Sophie, the editor, from letters that they were exchanging. It's just such a fascinating story and such an interesting way to look at someone who is a truly sick individual and look at the manipulation and the ability and how much grace and understanding we would extend primarily to a white guy, but also to someone who seems to speak well and is well read.
Which shows our biases on what like a criminal really is.
Exactly. And there's just so many things in this book that are interesting. The time she took with all the additional characters that had a connection to the story, and she explains to the reader where they ended up and what happened to them, I think I like this turn in true crime where we're really looking at it as a whole and looking at the ripple effects of all of it. And maybe not just the victim, maybe not just the perpetrator, but even other people. The prosecutor who had to try the case, his son has a role in the book in talking about what kind of toll that took on his father and him watching his father go through that. There's so many interesting angles and avenues and points in this book. I'm telling you that I read it so quickly, not just because I'm a Sarah Weinman super fan, because it's that good.
Which means you have to read it again because you read it so fast,
yes,
right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's really well done. I feel like it's true crime that serves a purpose. But I picked it for this theme because Edgar's whole thing is his argument against the death penalty. Should you stay or should you go?
Yeah.
We don't know. There's this idea of people that are against the death penalty, and they were using him as an example. Like, there's doubts about his guilt, so should we be putting him to death? But then down the road, if you had, what would have saved these other people? There's a lot of interesting points, and it's to go back in time in a story that was sort of at the forefront of where that was when that was starting to come out.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's so interesting too to think, coming back to that idea that we don't know what the hell we're doing most of the time, and no one really does, and so we can very easily be swayed by either the person that's talking the loudest or the person that's talking very eloquently or the person that somehow exudes some sort of authority.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, they know what they're doing. Believe them.
It reminds me a lot of, it's one of the reasons we started this podcast, but it reminds me a lot of college, in the sense that you would have classes with people who could speak really eloquently, and they would talk about something you read or some discussion point. And I think at first my instinct would be like, oh, I'm not smart enough to keep up with that person. And then after a while you'd be like, wait a minute. everything you're saying is BS. It's all fluff. You didn't even say anything in that sentence. That sentence actually means nothing when you break it down.
And then you get in the work world and you discover that's just what people do.
Right.
That's the whole thing, is just covering up what we don't know or what we don't really want to say.
Yeah, what we don't want to admit that we don't know. And that was one of the reasons we started this, because we didn't want, I'm tired of literature or books being on this elevated level where not everyone can access them. And I really feel like that happens when people try and take this highbrow, like, well, this is what this means, and this is that, and you didn't understand that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That there's a level of like subjectivity that some people can pounce on and be like, well, you know, this is what you really should be reading. This is what you should really be getting from this, whatever. Whereas no, come on now.
No.
Stop that.
Knock it
White
off.
dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So it was
Well,
really
Erin,
good.
I'm so happy for you that you had your Sarah Weinman book, that she delivered you another winner, that your love for Sarah Weinman continues to grow.
I have dedicated a shelf in my bookshelf.
Good. How many books has she written now?
Quite a few. I mean, she's edited quite a few too.
Yeah.
So she's got Unspeakable Acts,
Right.
The Real Lolita,
Okay.
Scoundrel, and then she edited a couple of crime anthologies, the like women writers of 40s and 50s, I believe. So yeah, I mean she's got other New York Times crime
she's
columnist.
writing very
all the
prolifically.
time.
Yeah.
And reads obviously at a crazy clip. So
And she was a delight to talk to when we talked to her.
it was so great. That was
And the
best
best part
birthday
was
present.
watching your face. Just constant love, just staring at her. And
know.
listen, we both had times where we do that, where we just fangirl over the people we're talking to. Sarah Weinman she's top of your list.
I still can't even really believe. I was thinking of that when I was reading the book. I was like, really can't believe we interviewed her.
Yeah.
Like
you talked to her. You saw her
Yes,
face.
yeah.
You talked to her face to face.
I talked to her face to face.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And Sarah managed to give us another wonderful word to go with, scoundrel. So we got scoundrel and ragtag from this episode so
it's
far.
so good.
Yeah,
it's so
good.
underused. Scoundrel. I mean, it's perfect. I couldn't think of a better word to describe this guy either. I mean, besides murder, but
It kind
scoundrel
of makes me wonder if she's a Star Wars fan, because there's a very specific bit of dialogue around the word scoundrel in Empire Strikes Back. Just saying.
that
And I
wouldn't
know you would
surprise me.
have no idea what I'm talking about.
None.
And that hurts me, but that's where we are.
I do know that they're called lightsabers now. I do know that.
Instead of laser swords? Yeah. Because I corrected you.
I do. This is a side note. It has nothing to do with the book, but since you brought up Star Wars, I did have a frustrating experience this week
Oh.
involving a puzzle and Star
okay.
Wars. Yep.
Okay.
So I ordered a specific puzzle online. I'm not
Okay.
going to say the retailer. That I was really looking forward to getting. And it said, it's delivered. And I opened the box and it was a Star Wars puzzle. And I was like, that's not what I ordered.
That's not what you ordered.
So I got online and I clicked the little thing and they were like, oh, we're so sorry. We'll send you a new one. And I was like, cool, thanks. And they said, you can just keep that one. You don't even have to bother to send it back. I was like, all right. So 2 days later, I'm like, oh my gosh, the puzzle came. And I open it up. It's the Star Wars puzzle again. It's the same Star Wars puzzle. So I took a picture of both of them. I sent it again. They're like, we're sorry. We're just going to refund you. So I don't know if
So
the
you never
SKU
got your damn puzzle that you
No.
wanted.
I think it's incorrect. And I actually meant to bring one for you because,
I would have taken a Star Wars puzzle.
I don't have, we won't do two of the same puzzle. So.
Does anyone in your family like Star Wars?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Mike,
good.
Evan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is an audience there.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. But I was like, this seems like a mean joke.
It really does. It feels like someone is directly saying, like, listen, you should like Star Wars.
What are you doing?
It's almost like I did it.
Well, and the lightsabers are prominent in the puzzle. Like they're
they're a prominent
It's like all the
part of the
characters and then
movies.
two light. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I get. But
yeah.
just I was like two of the.
At least
it's
you didn't
exact
call them
same.
laser swords that time.
No. I called them the right thing.
Yes, you did. Good for you.
I guess that was karma from like how many years ago when I called them lightsabers that I got a puzzle 2 days in a row.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So for pop culture, nothing to do with Star Wars, nothing to do with true crime. I've got a musical film. What?
A musical film.
Musical film. Listen, I'm not.
What?
I don't usually do this. I'm not a real fan of musicals often.
Yeah.
Except there are a few musicals that I love so much, and then everything else is just kind of meh.
Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
So this is a new one that
Okay.
I love so much. It's called Tick, Tick, Boom.
Oh, yes.
And this is on Netflix. It came out in late 2021. This is a musical. It is a film adaptation of a stage musical. It is sort of a biopic, and it's so much more. There's so much packed into this. So it's about the man named Jonathan Larson, he was the man who created Rent, you know, the very, very famous musical that came out in 1996. And the night before its premiere, he died suddenly at age 35. So he never got to see the show put on. He never got to see how phenomenal it became in the culture. Before he created Rent, though, Jonathan produced this show called Tick, Tick, Boom, which is itself about Jonathan creating a previous show that never got produced. Oh. Jonathan Larson is played by Andrew Garfield. And if I tell you that he is fucking brilliant in this, it is because he is brilliant.
Oh,
he
wow.
sings, he dances, he acts, he plays piano.
Oh.
It's phenomenal. So there's a good reason he was nominated for an Oscar, and I hope he wins it.
Yeah.
So the movie is set in 1990, and Jonathan Larson is turning 30, and he's freaked out because he's been working on a show for 8 years, and it's staging its first read-through at the end of this week, and he's pinning everything on it. He's pinning what he's going to do with his life. He's pinning what he's going to do about the woman he loves who's moving away, what he's going to do as his friends face HIV and AIDS. And he feels the pressure of becoming known young. And I think there's always that pressure, like you got to make it by a certain age or else you're done. You're a hack kind of thing. He's also feeling the pressure of finding a way to make money doing his passion, and this sense that the clock is ticking, not just on creativity, but on his life. He had this real sense that like time is running out, which is so weird to think about because it was running out. So the movie is directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh.
It's his first directorial movie. Fantastic. It's also starring some Broadway alumni, and there's one particular scene that has some, even for a non-huge Broadway person myself, I recognize so many people in this scene of different little cameos and everything. It's really remarkable. And I chose it for this theme because, like I said, Jonathan is facing some major decisions about every aspect of his life. And he's putting this pressure on himself, this time pressure, but also this sort of pressure of like, well, if I don't make it with this, I can't make it at all. And I think that's such a creative person's, it's a very universal experience for creative people. And what I really love is this is ultimately about a failure because the show that he's working on for 8 years, it doesn't go anywhere. And it's such a devastating moment when you realize, oh shit, like it's not going to get produced. It's this particular dream is not going to come true. But that's not the end of the story because then he has to find a way to tell more stories and create something that really does change the culture, which he ends up doing with Rent. It's so touching, and if you watch it and you enjoy it, I highly recommend looking up some interviews with Andrew Garfield because you can tell that his love and passion for this story and for Jonathan Larson as a person are just infectious. And the way he talks about the movie and about Jonathan and about the act of creativity, it's cool. so moving. And in fact, I just watched, there's a conversation between him and Eddie Redmayne, who I guess they've been friends for long ago. And it was a conversation for maybe some drama students or something. But he was Andrew Garfield was talking about failure when you're in the artistic world and how you have that choice of like giving up, or you have the choice of being like, okay, I feel like I'm going to die and I feel like, you know, I've embarrassed myself, but I can try it again. You know, what happens if I try it again? Yeah. And it's so phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've heard amazing things. Evan loves this, by the way.
Does he? Good. Yeah, I could definitely see Evan loving this. Yeah.
I know. I've been meaning to get to it and I haven't, but I'm going to now just because of your recommendation.
And I liked Andrew Garfield before. I didn't understand how freaking talented he is until now.
That's funny because I heard a kind of piece about him that almost worded it the exact same way. Like Andrew Garfield's always been a force, and we all just got on board with how big of a force he is after this. Like,
and I understand you told me that you watched The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and he was in that, and he was really good at. He's
great.
Had a year of like really good stuff.
Yeah, he has. Yes, very much. Well, my pop culture could not be farther away.
It's not a musical film?
No. Mine is called Pam and Tommy.
Oh!
And it's a Hulu.
I am so excited that
miniseries.
it's done, and I'm going to watch it. I'm actually starting it tonight.
Yes, you should. Everyone, you should. Now, listen. You probably think that you know the story, the sex tape story. I thought I did.
Which was like one of the original sex tape stories.
It was.
Yeah.
Because it was right at the cutting edge. It was 95, 96. The internet was starting to become a thing. So Sebastian Stan and Lily James.
Can I just say, I love Sebastian Stan so
I do now.
So much.
So much, yes. And Lily James play Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson. And you should watch it just for that, because their transformations into those, you forget that those are not the real people. Like, that's how amazing it is. But this tells the story of kind of them getting together, but more so of what happened with the sex tape. After you watch the series, if you do a little bit of reading, you find out that they have both said that this was kind of the moment that ended up breaking them up years down the line, because it was just very difficult for both of them. Because, as you can imagine, he was a rock star, already was a rock star, but in the figurative sense for that sex tape. Everybody was like, oh, amazing.
And I bet she was a slut.
Yes.
Slut shamed.
And because it is stolen and put out there without their permission, they decide to sue. Particularly when Penthouse gets a hold of it and says they're going to publish still images from the video.
Oh.
Okay. Part of this is a problem for Pamela because, number one, it was getting out there and she was just coming off Baywatch. She was trying to get her career. People were kind of like, ooh, they didn't want to touch this. Second of all, Hugh Hefner helped kind of put her on the map, and she had a very loyalty to him and was worried that he would think that she gave the stuff to Penthouse.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And none of that was true. And also she was just felt incredibly violated. So they sued Penthouse, mainly because Tommy pushed for it. She was afraid suing them was going to put it in the news more and make it a bigger issue and make them dig in. And that's what happened. And partially she was frustrated because he wasn't understanding how much this was pushing back on her and not on him.
Yeah.
Because he just couldn't see it through her, what was happening to her.
Yeah, because he was a rock god. He wouldn't understand like how. Yeah.
No. And what was happening to him was like everybody like, yeah, Tommy, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Whereas for her, she's sitting in a room saying, I don't want this out there. And people are saying, didn't you pose for Playboy? They've already seen it.
Right.
No one could understand
man.
the difference between posing for something and have it being consensual and a tape that you
Yes.
never thought anyone was going to have, and what the difference between those two things were. It's a very interesting story about consent and about what's private and what's not, what should be out there. There are moments that just gut punches. There's a whole episode dedicated to her having to do a deposition as part of the lawsuit that Tommy doesn't have to do. And I can tell you that it was so well done, but so cringy that it was almost hard to watch. Like my heart just kept breaking. And I felt it felt like watching the impeachment thing with the Monica and Bill, the American Crime Story, because my recollection of that time, 95, 96, you had what a floozy. They got a sex tape
Absolutely.
out.
And then she was a joke. She was a total joke.
Total
that.
joke. Yeah. And then to have that be turned around and realize like how poorly she was treated and how awful this all was, and to look at it through a different viewpoint now, it's just heartbreaking. And I want to address the fact that I know if you look this up, Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson have both publicly said they had no part in this. Pamela specifically said she wasn't happy about it coming out. She's now planning her own Netflix documentary as kind of a way to tell her own story, apparently. And I understand that. And I almost feel like it's a weird, like you're writing a story about her being violated, and I could see how maybe she feels violated again. But I also think it's just a really interesting perspective changer for anyone to watch and look at it from a different lens. I don't have any feelings except sympathy for that and empathy after watching that. I just feel so sad.
And I wonder too, after, it sounds like she was really betrayed and kind of fucked over by a lot of people. So I imagine she maybe saw this as another thing that was just going to dig in on her. Maybe she didn't know that it was going to leave people with a sense of empathy for her.
Well, and you know what? Something that you was so difficult and such a hard spot and such a deep, deep rooted feeling. moving on past that and then feeling like someone's bringing it up is like the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Even if it's done out of kindness or grace or trying to tell a different side of the story, that's a really difficult thing, I think. And so I can understand how, without even seeing it or green lighting or anything, that's very difficult.
Yeah.
But Seth Rogen has a very important role in it.
I have seen pictures of him and Nick Offerman, and they look real bad.
It's bad.
Real gross.
Yeah, Nick Offerman plays a very seedy porn distributor.
Oh, boy.
There is just so much here. And there's also really interesting kind of side story about the start of webcams and internet and how that kind of changed the porn industry. So it's really well done, I think. I will for sure watch her documentary just to see, to understand better how she feels about it and all of those things. But it's tough to watch, but it was really entertaining. It's really well done. So
yeah, I'm excited. I mean, like you said, just even looking at the pictures, I remember when this was in development, like seeing pictures of them, the two actors, compared to like the two people. I was like, whoa, that is impressive.
It's crazy. And she looks, I mean, you wouldn't be able to pick her out, I don't think. If you didn't see a picture of Lily James and then see her, like, you wouldn't look at her playing Pamela Anderson and be like, oh, that's Lily James. Like, you cannot tell. Cannot tell. It's very well done. And it's just an interesting time. And I picked it obviously for this because, it becomes a very pivotal question in their relationship. I mean, they met and married within a week. So there's kind of this, oh man, what did I do? Should I stay in this? Should I go? What's my career going to be like? What's his career? He's coming down off of Motley Crue being peak, and he's trying to ride the wave behind Nirvana and all these where rock was changing and they were on the outs. And so he's dealing with kind of his own ego issues at the same time. So interesting time period. Lots of thoughts there.
Ugh. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's
looking
a good
forward to it.
I'm jealous that you were smart enough to wait and watch it all.
Yeah, wasn't this one where you started it and then you were like, wait, what? Yeah, it's not all done. Yeah.
I thought it was all coming out at once, and I was like, I told Amy, I thought we all collectively agreed that's how we were doing TV from now on.
We did, but some people didn't get the message apparently.
No, I was like, what? Why? Wait, what? I only get it's not right.
Not cool.
It's not right.
Well, Sebastian Stan, I'll stay with you.
You should
all the time. Woo! He is he's a wonderful looking person. He's a lot of range. I just watched another film with him in it called Fresh, and I'll talk about it in a future episode, and it is
I've heard good things.
Yeah. Different side.
Yeah. He's very talented, obviously.
Well, we talked about Midwest Goodbyes. We talked about scoundrels and ragtag bands.
We
talked about new relationship services that we will provide.
Yeah, that's something we need to definitely research and investigate.
Yeah. We didn't really talk about tattoos, but we talked about Tommy Lee, and he's known for his tattoos.
Covered.
Yeah.
Covered. Which is also a thing that Sebastian Stan, that had to be a lot of makeup time.
Yeah.
So much time.
It was a good episode, Erin.
It was a good episode.
We're doing good.
What a smorgasbord of options that we presented.
We didn't prevent a smorgasbord. No. We made a smorgasbord.
We rolled one in on a buffet table.
A ragtag band of options for you.
Yes. Something for everyone.
I mean, you might as well, get. Well, I don't know if we want to call it a buffet. Buffets feel gross these days. I don't know about.
No.
Maybe they were gross before. The friend Eric that I mentioned his 40th. He's always been anti-buffet.
These days, a lot to question about.
These
a
days,
buffet.
I'm agreeing with that. This is a clean buffet that we're offering.
No, it's a buffet of reading options, which is a different. We don't want to be down on the word buffet because people have taken it and made it a terrible dining decision.
Yeah, this one doesn't have E. coli. This has like good reading
This
options.
one does not have toddler snot.
No, it doesn't.
Went across the salad. This just has reading options and viewing options.
I didn't even think about toddler snot. That's gross.
Yeah, that's the main thing I think of when I think of buffet. Yeah. It's just like stuff. People's stuff.
Nope, not anymore.
No, done.
Yeah.
Over.
Well, I hope you enjoy reading from this smorgasbord of without infectious snot and E.
No
coli.
Mosquito in your teeth either. I
hope. Mosquito in your teeth.
Yeah. In the meantime,
happy reading.